Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are Podcast Network. This is We Are Bagu Season 1, Episode 21, Persona 5 Royal. Duck and Dr. E are going to talk about Ethan's love of Persona 5 and what this game truly means to him. If this is your first time checking out the podcast network, head on over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you get a chance, head on over to our social media. All links can be found in the description. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And if you enjoy this podcast today, please share it with your friends. That is the only way we can grow this channel. With that said, on to the podcast.
We Are Bagu.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Are Bagu. This is Duck. I am here with
Dr. E.
What is We Are Bagu? It's a video game podcast. We talk Atari to Steam and everything in between. As I always say, I am Atari, Ethan is Steam, and we're going to talk about something that falls under the Steam category. We're going to talk about something, well, it's not Steam, but it's relatively, if we're saying old and new, it's very new, but it has been around for a long, long time in many forms, but we're going to focus primarily on the newest version of it. So, Ethan, I know you've been chomping at the bits for a lot of podcasts now trying to get to this. This is something that's always in the back of your mind when it comes to gaming. What are we talking about today?
Today we are finally covering Persona 5 Royal.
No! I mean, yay! I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about these games. So all I know is you are a huge fan of these games. And this one specifically is like
This one fucked me up, dude.
Fucked you up?
There is no better way to put it. And there will be a point at some point where I'll, give a spoiler warning, because this is a very story-heavy series. But I'm not going to get into the specifics of that right now.
Let's talk about your history with the game, because I think that's important to this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, when we first became friends and we started playing D&D, I would come over to your house, we're chilling in the garage, and we would talk about the Persona games and Kingdom Hearts and a couple other things that you were really into.
Oh, yeah.
And how did you find this game series? My first experience with it was years ago doing reviews with New Gen Gamers, and they did Persona 2, I think, on the PlayStation 2 back then. I
think, if I remember right, and it was Persona 2 Eternal Punishment was the one that came out in the US, because there's two different Persona 2s. Eternal Punishment and Innocent Sin, if I remember correctly. One of which was released in the US only, the other in Japan only, or something like that. It was a mess. But it's the weirdest thing, man. This series, at least all the major entries in it, have never flopped. Not a single one. They've always one-upped, two-up, improved on the formula light years. And some of these games, it's just incredible. And it's a really basic JRPG formula. It's pretty much adult Pokemon.
Oh, yeah?
It's crazy.
All I know is it takes place in a school, or you're a school kid, or...
Yeah, you're a teenage Japanese student. You go through, and at some point, you come across this great power that you have within you, and you use that to fight demons.
You got the touch! You got the power! Sorry, it's from Transformers. So, I love it. We've been singing that song all week. So, where did you find this game? Like I said, my friends were playing it, and they were all about this. But it seems like recently Persona has become huge, especially with your generation. What was your introduction to the game?
William Sonamo.
Will Sonamo!
He had this copy of this game called Persona 5, and he said, "Here, you want to try this? I've had it. I don't have enough time to play it. Give it a shot." And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Dude, I fell in love. I played through the first version of Persona 5, the original release, 3 times. And that's easily a 200-hour playthrough each time through.
Damn.
200 hours.
So Will was he brought you the drug, and you were just like, come on, Will.
He didn't even know it, man. I think...
What system was it on?
So I played the re-release on PlayStation 4, so it had the HD graphics and all of that, but it was still the same game. Okay. It originally came out on PlayStation 3, and then they ported it over. Yeah, I think Will only played maybe a few hours of it. Barely got into the first major dungeon. And the thing with these Persona games that I've found out, going back and playing some of the other ones, you have to at least get through the first dungeon. Because it's a slow build-up. But damn, afterwards, oh god, the story just blooms and explodes, and it gets really convoluted and turns into something so beautiful and magnificent. It's incredible.
I can see just the look on your face, like you light up like Christmas anytime you talk about Persona. So there's something about it that spoke to you. Now, is this the only game in the series that you've played, plus the remakes, or you've played other ones too, correct?
I've played other ones, so I've barely touched the original one, Revelations Persona on the PlayStation 1. Barely messed with that one. I have Persona 3 Fez, Persona 4, and Persona 4 Golden as well. And I've also played a couple of the other spin-off games and whatnot. Like, they have a couple games on the DS, some rhythm games and stuff that were pretty fun, but didn't really add anything to, or bring any new stories to the table. But really, the meat and potatoes of this whole series is the mainline games, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, and also, you show up at Best Buy every day before a game comes out. Like, you get into, like, that old 1999 Star Wars line that the people did for the prequels, and you line up next to the other Persona nerds.
I've got my little pre-order ticket.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the first one in the door. You hit mine. You're going to give me a copy now.
And then it's always that angry, kind of hot lady. She's like, here's your fucking game. And you're like, oh, I gotta go play
Can you
this.
hand it to me a little slower?
I must savor the moment. Okay, so Will got you hooked. Also, Ethan is wearing a Persona 5 shirt, just so everyone knows. I just noticed that.
I was actually debating wearing like the whole getup because I have the.
But you have like a Joker costume or something like that?
I actually do.
What?
Dude, I was. There was a Halloween working at the Improv that I was Joker for, one of the Halloween weekends. And
I literally want to call Javi right now just so he can call you a nerd. Nerd. All right.
I'm not kidding. I have the fucking hat that, just all the merchandise. Oh, I can't get enough, man. But
You just can't get enough.
I don't know, man. It's the weirdest thing because I've started at probably the latest entry in the franchise and started working my way back. So I'm kind of seeing where it came from, where it sprouted up from, and where it evolved. And it originally started from this series called Shin Megami Tensei, which that's a spin-off of another something else, but it was a PlayStation series that really took off in Japan. And it was where you played as these characters that fought alongside demons in a dystopian world in this very dark, grim, horrifying atmosphere.
Sounds metal as fuck.
It's metal as shit.
Yeah.
And for people that are fans of S&T, they finally got the 5th entry in that mainline franchise got announced earlier this year with a trailer and everything. And God, they've been waiting forever since the gap between Shin Megami Tensei 4 and 5 is just, it's fucking huge.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how many years, but it was years.
I've heard about that series. I don't know why I know it, because I know next to nothing about Persona, but so you're saying this began as that and then became an offshoot of that?
Yes. So this is a spin-off that became its own series.
No
it was so
shit.
successful.
That's
so
crazy.
One franchise has 2 franchises that is worth multiple billions of dollars.
Okay.
And it started with Shin Megami Tensei If kind of introduced this high school student sort of style to it. And then it later spun off into Revelations Persona and forged into the line of games that we know today.
And the gameplay was different then for the Shinzugami. Shinzugami isn't dead. I mean,
close enough.
It was the gameplay kind of like it, or completely different.
It was kind of similar from what I can tell, and I'm sure SMT purists would be like, oh my god, he just doesn't know what he's talking about.
And the other one can't even say the fucking name.
Yeah, and you guys can't review any of this crap.
Well, whatever, we're going to, so fuck off. So, Persona, you said Revelations Persona came out, PlayStation. It's actually on the PlayStation Classic, right?
Yeah, which is crazy, because I've looked everywhere for a copy of that original game, because I'm trying to collect, all the Persona stuff I can, but you can't find a copy of that for cheap anywhere.
No, it sounds like it'd be a very rare
It's
game.
a collector's item, and same with Persona 2, both of them. Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment.
And so these released at the same time, basically? Or are they like Pokemon Blue and Red? Is that comparable? Or was one and then there was the update? Because there's a lot of updates to the new one.
They're actually 2 completely separate games.
Really?
Yes.
So they complement each other, kind of like Zelda. On Game Boy Color, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. So they complemented each other. Was it kind of like that?
Kind of. So it's more like 2 halves of the same story. So Innocent Sin came out first, only in Japan, and then Eternal Punishment was the other half of that story, and it released in both the US and Japan. It was a more worldwide release than the original Persona 2, but it had a crazy cool concept, and it explored this whole idea of what if rumors and what people were telling each other and spreading throughout the masses was true. So it plays off those concepts where you can go and influence aspects of the gameplay by going and spreading and starting rumors. But those might have unforeseen consequences later on down the road and things like that. It's a cool concept.
So your actions early in the game affect what happens later in the game, is that right? Because a lot of it is text-based, correct?
These games do have a linear story throughout them.
Okay.
There are little aspects that you can affect throughout them, and I can't speak wholly for Persona 1 and 2, but at least in, I believe, 3, definitely 4 and 5, there are multiple endings you can get. They're not hard to get those different endings, but you do have choice.
So when does Persona 3 come out? What is that? And what kind of game is that?
Persona 3 came out in 2006 in Japan, 2007 in the US, and 2008 in Europe. So literally it was staggered about a year apart between each of those. And Persona 3 was really where the series started taking shape and becoming what it is now. And a lot of these games rotate around a central theme, and these games get really deep, and they dig deep into the concept of the human psyche and what it would look like if you could actually picture and visualize that.
DMT, baby! It's like
Dude,
it's like doing a drug.
DMT trip.
I'm not gonna lie, because I've watched you play one of the games, and I did think that while you were playing it, I was like, this is so fucking trippy and weird.
It's weird as shit.
Psychedelic as fuck. Like, it's a game, like, if you smoked weed, I could see you being like, oh, it's even better, bro. But like,
probably, honestly.
If I smoked weed, I'd be like, oh, this is freaking me out. Because I was
sober. Why is he so big? Oh my god, he shot a fireball. Oh, fuck.
The colors, man.
The colors are speaking to me, bro.
So, alright, so 4 is when you jumped in, you said, right?
No, 5.
5, okay.
And I worked my way backwards.
So you've played 3, 4, and 5 then?
I have not finished 3 and 4. I know the whole story, though.
Okay.
I kind of made the mistake of spoiling those for myself, but Persona 3 really circulates around the theme of death and mortality. And it's to the point where to summon your persona to aid you in battle, this manifestation of your spirit to cast magics in combat, you actually draw what looks like a pistol and blow your brains out.
Right there, you just said it all.
Yeah.
Like, it's so trippy, dude. So you were saying it's like Pokemon, though.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
The main character of Persona 3, 4, and 5, I can't speak for 1 or 2, they are known as the wild card. So their soul is open to new possibilities, which is basically their way of explaining away. You can have multiple personas. You can switch them out in combat. You can collect them. You can basically catch them and bring them onto your team and use their spells, their abilities, their powers to aid you in combat. And something about how Persona 5 did it specifically is you can be in the middle of a firefight with, 4 or 5 demons or something. They're just totally laying into you, ripping into your team. You knock them down at the perfect time, and you can actually talk with them. You have to try to sway them to come onto your side. And then finally you get their magic, their power, and you can straight up turn it against the other demons.
Nice.
So it's kind of a negotiation factor with these demonic creatures.
As you're fighting them.
Yes.
That's the one thing I was confused about. The fighting looks like it's turn-based, and it is, but it also brings in the negotiation aspect, or is that just one aspect?
The negotiation aspect of it is new to Persona 5.
Okay.
So that's a very new feature to the series that I really hope comes back. Because the combat in these games really focuses around strengths and weaknesses. Every persona is resistant to some damage types, weak to others, and there's other variations on that. But let's say you're fighting a demon that's weak to electricity. You use electricity on him, and it'll knock him down. You're then able to talk with him because he's in a down, vulnerable state.
Man,
your team will surround him, pointing guns at him.
Come on, bros.
Come on. Yeah, exactly. You have to kind of gauge the room. It'll tell you what the persona's kind of thinking. He'll ask you a question. You got to respond in the right way and kind of get him to believe that you're on his side. And then he'll join you.
That's really cool. And then he becomes part of your crew, or he just becomes like an item that you can use?
It's kind of more like an item, but it gives you more versatility in the spells and abilities you can use, and you can also use that to kind of change what you're resistant and weak to. So if you're suddenly being hammered by an enemy that is using a lot of fire, you can switch to one that is more resistant to it or even straight up prevents you from taking fire damage.
I feel like we should have started by talking about the story, so let's kind of jump back that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we could talk about the battle, but I think we need to have the layout of what's going on. What is the overall, like, storyline of this, and, like, what brought you into it and affected you on such an emotional level? It's like whenever you hear a really cool song back in the day, or you have a band or something, you just like, bro, you should listen to this band. Like, it's so good. Like, that's how you are always talking about Persona. But I'm like, oh yeah, how long does that take? Like, 300 hours. I'm like, I can't do that, dude.
No, I don't want
to.
you.
Listen. So what is it about it, though?
It really hit me in layers, which I know that's weird to say. But what really hooked me in first was the style. Because god damn, is Persona 5 just so damn stylish.
It's like Andy Warhol.
It's picaresque.
And like,
well,
it's so cool, though. And it changes. I remember watching you play it, and I'm just like, this is like watching a comic book come to life, meets an oil painting, meets a... Like, it's just got so much shit going on. There's so much style. It hurts.
Well, I mean, even with something like this, I'm showing Duck the main intro to Persona 5 Royal over the mic, but it's so picaresque. It's very animated. There's a lot of heart and soul and meaning behind all of the little details in the game.
And it's very pop art meets anime meets current, I would say, comic book. There's a lot of Sin City almost, like silhouettes and shit like that. It's just...
Yeah, it utilizes every sort of artistical aspect to drive a point home.
And like I said, it's very Andy Warhol to me is the best way to describe it, because he's the father of pop art. You know, he was the one who took things that were common in the day and turned them into art. And he was taking like pop figures at the time, like the Beatles and stuff, and creating art out of them. So that's why I say that, because when you look at that, that's what they call that. So like, it's really, really interesting, especially because it looks like it's done in the old ink presses that they had for comic books, you know, the 4-color ink presses.
Yeah, and throughout all of Persona 5 and 5 Royal, the two separate versions of the game, they lean into that heavily. All of the UI is stylized like that. The menus, the items, everything fits into that theme. And it looks gorgeous. If there was ever a contest on, you know, which game is the best looking UI, hands down, Persona 5.
I agree with you. Just seeing it and watching you play it, I was like, holy fuck, this is cool. Like,
there's so much love and care put into every little detail. Yeah. Like, if you pause the game and you hit a certain option in the pause menu, after a couple times, the protagonist, because he swings in during this animation, he'll slam into the screen and fall instead.
That's clever.
Like,
that's good shit.
Yeah, it's just little things like that.
So the style really brought you in.
The style was what hooked me in first, because with the games to begin with, you have to play at least a good 4 or 5 hours to get really into it. The story needs time to set up the world logic. It has to introduce the characters. It has to introduce a lot of really hard to digest concepts. It does not do this very quickly whatsoever. So Persona 5 does this by, you're this really shitty kid that got kicked out of school because he stood up to this really shitty guy that was trying to rape a woman, and, you know, the guy turned around and straight up sued you for punching him in the face. And so now you got sent off, you're going to be here on probation for a year. And it just goes from there.
Raped the woman.
He was trying to.
Oh.
But you stepped in, saved the day, and got taken away because of it. You got in trouble for doing the right thing.
So you end up in this boarding school, is that correct? Is that where he's at, or why?
He got, I don't quite know why exactly he got transferred to this one place, but the protagonist gets transferred to Tokyo and goes to a high school there. And so you kind of get acclimated to this guy, becomes your pseudo guardian. He's kind of a dick to you the first time you come through there. And he's like, don't do anything. Don't step out of line. Just keep your head down and this will be all over soon. Just don't do anything stupid. Go to school. Come home. And you'll be fine. So it starts off like that, and it slowly rolls into giving you a taste of these fantastical elements. The protagonist starts realizing he sees things off in the distance that are suddenly disappear. He's seeing visions and having dreams of these weird figures and characters, and suddenly it all comes to a head on your first day of attending this school. You and this other guy that you meet for the first time, you're transported into the game's first dungeon where the school should be.
Right. Ooh, that's
suddenly, you know, you're at the address where the school is, but for some reason there's this towering, sinister-looking castle. Drawbridge, knights, everything, and they're hostile.
Yeah.
They capture you. They take you into the dungeon, and it just spirals into insanity from there.
And do the characters go, what the fuck is going on? Or do they
Yes,
just accept
they're
it?
kind of like, what? I mean, it'd be really out of the ordinary if they didn't. They're like, no, this doesn't make sense. The school is here. Why are these people in costumes? Is this a prank? What's going on? And it isn't until their lives are threatened and they're about to be killed that they're like, this shit's fucking real.
Yeah. Damn.
We're about to die.
Damn, that's sweet. So,
And it's at that point that I really got hooked, because...
yeah, I'm hooked and I'm not even playing it.
yeah, it's such an intriguing story that once you have that logic start to get fleshed out for you, it's just so incredible. So it spirals into this story of you're actually in this world created by a twisted human being's heart. That is how they perceive this location. The specific part I'm talking about, the first level in the game, is the PE teacher and volleyball coach. He's a Olympic medalist who he views the school that he works at as his castle, and he is the king. And all of the students are his slaves.
Yeah.
And he...
Dick. He's a dick. He's very much a dick.
He's a rapist.
Oh my god, rape again?
Dude,
how much rape is in these games?
too damn much.
Holy shit.
Because
I really love this game. What do you love about it, Ethan? A lot of rape.
honestly, it speaks to me through its themes of rape.
It's like, I gotta go. I can't be...
My mom said I can't play
like,
this
all
game
these
anymore.
kids loving Persona 5, I didn't know. It's like, deep down, they just love the rape in it. Holy shit.
It's not all that, but yes, the first part of this, it's the castle of lust. This guy, he's using the girls of this school because he can. They want to achieve greatness. They want to have a career in sports, and he's their gateway to it. Their parents want them to be successful, so they don't say anything.
He's a pedophile, too?
He's a pedophile.
What the fuck is this game, dude?
It's crazy. And you form this group of thieves, and you finally ultimately decide to go in, and you have no other options. You delve into this corrupted, horrible human being's mind, and you're going to change his heart. You're going to make him confess his sins.
And go to jail, I hope.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
right.
so it spirals into this crazy boss fight. You delve in, see their deepest inner thoughts and desires, and it's horrible. It's terrifying. You see all the horrible, cruel things he's done to all the students. Even there was a
show the rape?
They allude towards it.
So it's done in a very silhouette kind of way.
There's a character that was...
I just want to stop you.
Yeah.
I was not expecting all this in a bag of rape. Like, I did not know that this was coming, dude. Like I thought this was a kid's game. Like,
no,
with, like,
fuck
some
no.
cool, like,
when
elements.
I say it's adult Pokemon, it's very adult. It explores some really, really dark themes.
Alright, so... how do they show it? You said they show it in a very...
They show it in a very roundabout way,
yeah.
Which, I mean, no one wants to actually see that. And on top of that, going around it is very... Put your hand down.
I'm just kidding. All right.
But there is a character right before they decide to ultimately go in and change his heart. She was called into his office, this character, and something horrible, they never say what, was done to her, and she almost kills herself. She jumps off the roof of the building. The school.
Holy shit.
And that motivates the characters to finally go in and say, yeah, we need to deal with this fucker.
Is there a way to do this without actually playing the turn-based battles? Because I really want to see this game.
You can watch all the major cutscenes online.
Okay.
Easily.
So, anyhow, we got fucking Rapey McRaperson over here, and then we got the kids fighting against him.
The kids eventually fight against him. They overcome him. They steal his treasure, the core of his distorted desires. They escape. And... he falls into this depressive slump.
Did you hear that demonic voice there a second ago?
Yeah.
You heard that, right?
That was weird.
That was not me or you.
That was not me or you. No.
You heard that, right? It went or something like that, right? You heard that. Okay. We'll just keep going, but that really freaked me out, just so you know. And hopefully everyone else heard that too, because we heard that in the room, and I'm keeping that in the podcast. Because it was neither of us, because you were looking at me, right?
Yeah, and you were looking at me.
And I did not do that. All right. Continue on. Okay, so back to the rapes.
God, okay, just gotta get past this part. This part.
Fucking weird. Okay, continue. So they get out of the...
They get out, and a few days later, depending on how quickly you work through his dungeon, he, in front of the entire school, drops to his knees and begs for forgiveness. this horrible, twisted person all of a sudden has a change of heart and is confessing his crimes in front of the very people that he's been lying to and putting on a front. And this starts to spiral into now everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? There's no way he actually did these things, right? And that's kind of the premise for the whole game is these kids, they don't trust society or adults anymore, so they decide, fuck it. If no one else is going to do anything, if no one else is going to stand up for what's right, we will. We'll go through and we'll change these horrible, horrible human beings and make them confess their crimes.
You know why? We got the touch! Oh, wait, I better not do that because
pedophilia was mentioned. You don't want to say we got the touch.
No, we don't want to say that. Yeah, no.
So it goes on to, they take down a world-renowned artist who was taking advantage and plagiarizing the work of his pupils. They take down a mobster who has had the whole of Shibuya.
So each of the dungeons is a different person.
Completely different person, completely different distortion, and it's really twisted to say, but the way that these people view the world around them, because this is how a person sees the world around them. You actually get to see what the person thinks and feels. It's really, really disturbing seeing someone view an entire city as a bank and all of its patrons as ATMs, and he doesn't care if they get broken and shut down.
That's fucked up, but that's kind of realistic. Because people who are sociopaths and stuff like that, this is how they view people. Like, exactly. There are certain women who are gold diggers. There are certain people who only view other people as sexual pleasure. You know what I mean? Like, and there are people in this world who are dangerous, evil people, who do not have remorse, who, this is intriguing. It's like a psychological.
All of these games are very much a psychological study, but it's put in such a way that it uses the medium of video games really well to help explore these concepts. And I mean, it's not all bad things. You know, there are downtimes you get to go hang out with your friends and build your relationships up with them, and it in turn makes them and you stronger because your persona is your spirit. And as you increase your bond and kind of you yourself become stronger through willpower, and your persona will get stronger as well.
Let's go into that a little bit, because that's still confusing to me. You have the normal version of you in the world, and then when they go to that first dungeon, do they become the personas at that point?
No.
Within the spiritual world, or that happens later?
So there are two worlds that you get to explore. The real world and what in Persona 5 gets dubbed the Metaverse. This is the world of distorted desires, and you can see people's true colors here. But that's the only place you can access your persona. What happens when they go there is if they are seen as a threat, then their attire changes and they're donning their thieves' garment, whatever they view as their perfect thief. That's besides the point, though. Persona is they're tapping into the magic of their soul to help them in combat. So it's more a spiritual being that appears with them and helps them fight. They don't become the persona.
It is a persona. They call those daemons, I think. It's close to demon. I don't know if you'd mentioned demons already in this, and I think we heard one a minute ago. I'm still stuck on that. I apologize. But that's, like, in the Dark Compass, his Dark Materials trilogy, the characters in the world have demons, or daemons, which are animal representations of their soul, and they're connected to them. And, like, with the idea of some occult, some of that's in there, too. You know what I mean? Where
for sure.
Familiars. You know, that's part of it. Is that kind of what plays into this?
Yeah.
So these are familiars, basically.
Yeah, it's a familiar you can summon to your side.
Okay.
So that's a really good way to put it, actually.
And I'm freaked out about this, though. I'm just...
No, you're good. But yeah, that's kind of the core gameplay loop, is you go back and forth, you balance your school life, your friendships, your relationships with all this great cast of characters, and you get to explore and flesh out their individual stories, what they're struggling with, what's going on, and they will get stronger or help you get stronger as a result of it. So it motivates you to take care of your friends and spend time with them and kind of live your life while also going into this metaverse and conducting thievery and helping people through other means. You also get to physically fight these shadows, these demons, and get stronger that way too. And it does a really good job of helping you balance going back and forth. And it's just incredible how they were able to take two very distinct gameplay styles, a sort of walking life simulator style game, and combine it with an RPG. And it works so well.
Now, is it linear, or is there backtracking? You go through the same areas, or is it like...
It's linear to a point.
So you go up and get to the dungeon, and then you're in that dungeon. You don't go back to that dungeon. You keep moving on, correct?
There is one dungeon you can go back to, and throughout Persona 5, it's called Mementos.
Okay.
This is the dungeon of the general public, so everyone's dungeon. What does everyone, as a collective mind, a collective body, what do they desire most? And the game portrays it like a bottomless pit. You can go in there, it's randomized, and that's where you go when you're not in these other dungeons. Because once you steal that treasure, once you take away what is keeping them corrupted, that dungeon goes away.
So there's an overworld map, though, so you could go past those locations again, like the school and stuff like that, or no?
Yeah. You can explore and unlock new areas of Tokyo that are actual places in the city. Mm-hmm. They're modeled after the real place almost to a T. It's fucking awesome.
That's very cool. So you have an overworld map, and then you have these side dungeons. You can go in. So, like the school, once the dungeon is defeated, do you get to go into the actual school then?
Even while the dungeon's active, you can go in there.
Oh, okay, cool.
So they choose whether they're in the real world or the metaverse. They can go back and forth.
Hey everyone, it's just Duck jumping in here real quick to say thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you're enjoying it, please head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you get a chance, head over to our social media. All links can be found in the description. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And if you're enjoying the podcast today, please share with your friends. It's the only way we can grow this network. With that said, back to the podcast. What is the overarching villain, or is it just the emotional ride?
It builds up to an overarching villain.
Okay.
So, starting at the second palace, the second major dungeon of the game, you hear mentions of... Well, actually, even before then, the story establishes early on that there are people that are just randomly having mental shutdowns. They're going crazy, they're doing things very out of character, and then suddenly dying.
We call this rumors in the East. So there's rumblings...
People are just dying randomly and no one knows why.
Yeah, that's really creepy, though. So that becomes part of that something's killing these people.
Yes. And the first clue you get as to what's going on is at the end of the second palace, which I'll kind of use that interchangeably, palace, dungeon. That's same thing. You hear mentions of there's someone else using the metaverse, someone with a black mask.
Black mask?
And they're using it to do whatever they want. They're manipulating the real world using the metaverse. And so you start going through these palaces and you keep getting little clues of that where someone else will go, why aren't you using it to the fullest extent like this guy? You could have as much money as you want.
Corruption.
You could control people.
Greed.
You could have all the power in the world.
Other bad words.
It starts building in and building up to the point where you go into a certain palace and it's supposed to be just a routine. You go in, fight the shadow, take the treasure, get out. But one thing they do in particular is at the end of every palace, they do not kill the person in their own palace. Their shadow, their demon. They don't kill it. They just take the treasure and leave. Well, the game shows you all of a sudden someone else comes in at the last second and kills this shadow.
Caps that
after they leave. And this person is... Because they're progressively going for bigger and bigger targets, and they're gaining public favor as this group of phantom thieves of justice, going and corrupting those of evildoers and making them confess their sins.
Vigilantism.
But they never kill until the public believes they killed. And this guy dies on live television giving his apology, and everyone suddenly turns against them. Everyone thinks the Phantom Thieves are responsible for killing this guy.
Yeah, that's badass.
And the whole general public just totally forsakes them. Nice. And the cops are now under even more pressure to hunt them down, and they have the aid of the citizens all of a sudden. And everyone in the group is kind of going, what the fuck just happened? Why is this going on? What's going on? What can we do now? They eventually run out of options and have to go into another palace, and it ends up being a setup. Someone joins their ranks, sets them up, and the leader gets captured.
Damn.
And I could get into the specifics of how this particular plot twist works.
That's not,
but
though,
in
because
the game,
if we're selling this game to you, you're going to play it. We don't want to give away who that is.
Right. But that was what hooked me in originally with Persona 5 and sold me. Damn. This game spent hours and hours and hours and hours building up logic for such a damn good payoff.
Right.
Because at the very beginning, you are captured. You are caught in this palace. So when you start it, you know what's going to happen. And honestly, The character that betrays you, which they tease at the very beginning of the game, it's not a surprise. It's not. But you know they're going to get around it somehow, but how they get around and overcome being caught by the police. You are in custody. You have been beaten. You have signed a confession.
Damn.
How you overcome that and escape and trick everyone into thinking you're dead is incredible.
Folks, this is video game edging. You've heard what the man has said. You're getting closer and getting closer, and you're about to climax.
This is the point where I will say, if you have never played Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, go play it now.
Go.
Because I'm getting into spoiler territory here, and I'm not going to stop.
All
Because
right.
I need to talk about the end of Persona 5 Royal.
Okay, before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the combat system.
Sure.
So far, story, sold. Sounds great. How does the day-to-day, is it combat all the time? Is it like a Final Fantasy where random encounters are only in the dungeons/palaces that you have?
It's only in the palaces that you are in combat.
So in the meantime, in the regular gameplay, you're just kind of bombing around town, talking to people, building relationships. Is that correct?
The games do a really good job of making that just as entertaining as the combat, which sounds fucking impossible.
Right.
But you get... Excuse me.
Bloop.
You get
That
so
was not a demon, just so everyone knows. That was Ethan going bloop.
You get so enwrapped in what's going on in the world that you pay attention to it because you want to help these people out. If not for,
These are your boys.
Yeah, they're your
Chilling.
homies.
Yeah, you're chilling.
And you can also go through and do things to make yourself better. You can go fishing. You can go play...
I mean, that's a staple of all video games
Exactly.
at this point.
Exactly.
You
can
know
go
what would
fishing.
make this racing game better? If Mario
Fishing.
and Luigi just randomly went fishing.
Mario Kart with reels.
I mean, I think there is fishing in Mario Odyssey. I'm not even joking.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Positive. Now that I think about it. Holy shit. It is. Yeah, there is. I know for a fact there is. You get into the cloud guy and you go fishing. All right, anyhow.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
So you can do that. You can go to the batting cages. You can go play darts and Royal. You can go play pool. You can, there's all sorts of little mini games.
Extravaganza,
and
basically.
What's really cool is the game incentivizes you to go do these things. Is you will get skills, you'll get bonuses, you'll improve yourself with everything you do.
And it sounds like it helps world build. It helps create the monotony of everyday life. So when you have that, you're like, well, I'm just playing darts and chilling with my friends.
Yeah, when you have downtime, it's downtime.
Yeah.
Things might be going on in the world, they might mention it, but it really reflects real life in a very uncanny way. You're able to go out and do these things, and in all honesty, the more you do something, you're going to improve a skill. So it kind of simplifies that, but in a way that really helps this game shine. And the two modes really, complement each other.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Or the two halves.
So we got the running around, bombing around town, hanging out, talking to people. Then you go to the palaces and dungeons. Now, the art style, does it change when you're in that other world? Or is it pretty consistent across the board?
I would say it significantly changes.
Okay.
Because you're going to get a lot of weird sort of environments and worlds and monsters and creatures just kind of roaming around. You can go stealthy all the way through it, take your time, look around, fight all the monsters if you want, explore every nook and cranny. And it's always something different.
And you can see the boss battles before you go into them, correct?
No.
You can't. So it is random?
You know when you're going in for a boss battle. You decide when it happens. Unless you've played through the game before, you don't know what the boss is.
No, I'm talking about random encounters. Is it random encounters or is there an avatar?
There is actually a humanoid or sometimes dog-like creature that will roam these halls, and you can hide from it, of course, or you can attack them, and then it's a randomized encounter.
And then it goes in, and it's a natural transition into the turn-based battling, or is it...
Oh, it's a gorgeous natural transition.
Okay.
Your character, especially if you catch him by surprise, or hell, at a certain point in Royal when you get the chains, I think it's called chains hook? I don't know, it's some French term, chains hook, where you launch your grappling hook towards an enemy, and you'll pull yourself onto them and rip their mask off, causing the enemies to spawn in, and boom, you're in turn-based combat.
Nice.
It's so stylish and so well done. It doesn't skip a beat.
Can you pull it up real quick? I kind of want to see it. Is it off? Boom. Ambush. Oh yeah, that's tight, dude. That's really cool, actually.
And what's awesome, or what's even more impressive, is when they get to the end of combat, it's actually just as smooth of a transition out. So what he does is you get kind of this result screen, runs through, and then after you hit next, it'll go instantly back into the dungeon.
Wow.
Boom, back into the dungeon.
Wow, just crazy. That's just absolutely insane.
It's smooth. It's
smooth.
so well
and
done.
Just so cool looking, too. Just, like, the style is just fucking through the roof. Alright, so we're talking about the battle itself. Is it traditional turn-based battle? Or, like you said before, there's the aspect of allowing for you to negotiate with the thing that you're fighting to collect them. Are the battles fun?
The battles are really fun, and for me personally, I've never been...
I hate turn-based battles, dude. I've always felt that way. And
it's too slow-paced. You spend
I've
so much time for so little reward. And that's what's great about Persona 5 and 5 Royal, is your battle will last no more than about 30 seconds. If even.
That's bomb.
Because of the whole strength and weakness system. If you're constantly hitting enemy weaknesses, you'll drop them down to nothing and be able to take them out. Just like that. Now, of course, you're going to spend more time on like the bosses and mini bosses and things like that, but those are the more intense fights that you're into.
The battles from hell.
Yeah. The ones that progress the story and you know you're going to get good shit from. Yeah, the cannon fodder that's just walking around and stuff like that. And what's cool is, especially in Persona 5 Royal, you can upgrade one of your party members to the point where you unlock an ability to insta-kill enemies that are super weak. You don't even go into combat. You just straight up hit them, you get XP, and you're done. It does not waste a second of your time.
So that's pretty cool. And then, so it's fun, though. It's consistently fun.
Consistently. And the game finds new ways, even in late game, to give you new fun abilities to explore and try out that you will need for combat.
But would you say the combat and the storyline are as good, or you play this game for the story?
Oh, it's the combat complements it. Without it, it would be a good story, but I don't think it'd be a great story. So you need both. You need the whole package. But it's still a fantastic story.
Well, let's jump back into it. We're going to start spoilers. So right now, if you're listening, Ethan's about to spoil the fuck out of the end of this game. So shut this shit down if we've talked you into playing it. I would love to play it, but I don't have the amount of time required.
You should at least watch the cutscenes and get a feel for it.
I think I should. So I'm going to let you spoil this shit for me. I'm totally ready. Let's go!
It ends with a fight with God.
All right. Well, that's why the demon was talking to us earlier. We figured this out. Very familiar. That's funny. Very similar to his Dark Materials, like I was telling you about before. That book series, spoilers, ends, well, I already spoiled it, ends with a fight with God, or it's a battle against God. Very interesting. So explain, how did we get there?
It builds up to the point where you discover who is actually manipulating the metaverse, or more, who is manipulating the person that could go into the metaverse. And you finally steal his heart. He's this evil politician named Masayoshi Shido. Absolutely evil bastard.
We call him Donald Trump here. Oh, politics! No, I'm just kidding. We don't bring politics.
You might not be wrong, because this guy's perception of Japan
is huge. It's huge.
The country is sinking and only he is on a ship.
Ooh, I see.
So those that are with him, they get aboard the ship.
Wow,
everyone else will go down.
Dude, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And you are so fucking right. That explains Trump so well. Anyhow.
You go through, you steal his heart, and you're thinking, okay, finally, everything's going to work out. Citizens are going to go back on our side. They'll see how much of a bastard this guy is and how they've been screwing him over. But that doesn't happen. Everyone's in such disbelief that this great and powerful political leader, they don't know who to trust anymore. All these people that they thought had put on such a good front that the public doesn't know what to do. They still side with this evil bastard, even though he confessed to everything he did. All of the mental shutdowns, all of this horrible shit. He confessed, and they still trust him.
I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. I think that's pretty self-explanatory there.
But finally, down to the wire, the Phantom Thieves ultimately decide, well, clearly the public is so distorted, we need to steal their heart. So they go into that ever-expansive dungeon that you've been kind of just training in throughout the whole game, and they go to the pit of it, the depths. And you get down... This is where the game went from being just really good to it is cemented in my brain. Is this whole time you go down to this dungeon and you see these people off in the distance getting aboard these trains that are carrying them off to some unknown location.
Georgia!
At the very depth of this hole, you see all the trains have come to a stop and all these people are just funneling deeper and deeper into this dungeon. And you step through the next door and it's just filled with cells. It's a prison. they're putting themselves in prison. They want to be submissive. They want someone to control them and tell them what to do. They don't want freedom of choice. They don't want to live their lives. They don't want to make decisions that are hard. They just want to be. And you go through and you see all of the major villains, their hearts you changed. You weren't making them come to their senses. You were sending them back here. You were pretty much putting them back in their cell. And so you hear all their reasoning of, well, I shouldn't have ever disobeyed. I shouldn't have disobeyed him. I shouldn't have, I should have known better because we can be happy here and you can too. All you have to do is just submit and just give in. Why rebel when you can be happy here? And you go further in and you're fighting all of these horrible, horrible shadows and demons that are just yelling at you to get back in your cell. You come down to the bottom, the very core of this distorted world of the general public, and there's just this huge, massive, goblet-like object sitting before you. And as you attack it and hit it, the people in the cells around you start yelling, telling you to stop. Don't touch our grail. You fight the Holy Grail, this creature, this being that humanity themselves have willed into existence to guide them, to lead them, to control them, to the point where it thinks it's a god.
It's an ideology.
And
it's a creation. It's that
they created their own warden.
Sacrilege, yeah, to go against it. That's crazy. And
the boss, as you're fighting it, he immediately, after a couple rounds, will just go back to full health. You can't kill him.
Oh, shit.
And it finally ends with him going, okay, well, I'm done with you. And he kicks you out of the dungeon. You're back in the real world going like, did we just lose? And this creature merges the real world and the metaverse into one. And he has complete and absolute control. And he Thanoses your ass out of existence.
Oh,
you die.
Bitch, you're gone.
And then, of course, you come back and things work out. You get the spirit to fight on and you will yourself back into existence because rebellion and friendship. Mostly rebellion and fuck this guy.
Yeah.
And you climb all the way back up to the top and you go and you start beating the shit out of this cup. You sever his ties to the cells. The people can no longer heal him. You're just pounding on him. You finally kill him. And then he keeps laughing. Phase 2, baby. The arena shifts open. And right before you is this hulking mass of a god. And he uses the 7 deadly sins, the gluttons of humanity, as attacks against you. And you are literally fighting God. And it's so damn cool. Because you're down to the count, you knock him down. It is a hard boss fight, and it's fucking awesome. It's epic. The music is badass. You got this killer electric guitar riff that's going on in the background throughout it all. It's so good. And you get him down, he does this ultimate attack in a cutscene, knocks everyone down, and the general public slowly starts coming back and giving you life. This is their palace now. They have the control. They can will you to be stronger. And they ultimately give the keys of their palace to the Phantom Thieves. This god is no longer their treasure. The Phantom Thieves are. And they're able to kill the god. That's where Persona 5 ends. Royal keeps going.
Oh, okay, so Royal is a continuation.
It's a continuation.
Is it the same game?
Yes.
But it adds...
Yes, but no.
Okay.
So what happens in that spot normally is you go off, happy ending, world saved, all good. Yeah. Main character goes to jail because they need a witness for the politician, but, that's besides the point. In Royal, there are 2 characters. You have to complete their story before you can unlock this. One of which, he's a therapist-like figure that's very friendly and open towards you, and he knows you're a Phantom Thief, but he doesn't turn you in or do anything. He's kind of picking your brain the whole time, and he's really a nice guy, but he's exploring this whole aspect of the metaverse, and he's trying to figure it out without knowing that it really exists. That's what he's been researching. There's another character as well, but not important to it. After this point, every single character in your party at some point during the game goes and visits this therapist, Dr. Maruki, and they confide in him. They tell him about the problems that they're facing, not necessarily the Phantom Thief stuff, but, just shit they're dealing with, stuff they're struggling with, what a normal person would do when they go see a therapist. And in doing that, at the end of the game, since they have all already confided in him, the Phantom Thieves give the keys over to him. And this is what made me fall in love And I will claim this until something either surpasses it, until I die. He is the greatest antagonist in any form of media ever. Because you become so attached to him, and he is such a good, honest guy that just wants to do the right thing, but he ends up being your biggest enemy at the end of the game. And it's not because he's a bad guy. It's because it's a conflict of ideals. You both want a good ending, but the means of getting there is different. He has a palace. He has distorted desires. But it's a distorted desire of only I can help these people. Only I can do the right thing. I must help the world. And now that he's been given the keys to the kingdom, he does not, either consciously or unconsciously, he does not unmerge the metaverse with the real world. They stay together. But it's his world now. And so you start this new section of the game where little things are off. Characters that are dead are suddenly alive, and everyone's acting nonchalant about it. Dialogue is said that is very out of character, and things are way too positive. Things are working out for characters that you know that it was impossible. And you come to realize he's creating a perfect reality for everyone because he can't have a perfect reality. Since he was so hurt and harmed in his past, he wants no one to suffer ever again.
Making heaven almost.
Yes, heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And so,
ooh, baby, don't you know it then? We're making...
It's a really interesting concept to explore because it's, would you give up the freedom to choose for eternal happiness?
It's creating another god.
It is.
So how long does this extension of the game go on for?
It's about 30 to 40 hours.
Wow. So this is like...
It's a big extension.
Wow.
So it explores a lot. And this whole time, the traitor that died earlier on, spoiler, Goro Akechi, he comes back and you know he's an evil son of a bitch. He doesn't care anymore. He's not trying to hide it. He is sinister. He is blunt. He is just, why the fuck would you say something like that? Don't fucking insult my intelligence. He's a crude, crass asshole.
He's Duck.
But the weirdest thing is, during this whole segment, this semester, he is your biggest ally. Because it's only you and him that really know what's going on. Because he died, but he's back alive. What the fuck? You go in, you confront Dr. Maruki, this therapist, and he's like, I've created this perfect world for you. Won't you just give it a chance? Go see it for yourself. Please, go try to accept this. So you have to go out and you actually do explore and see everything. The game forces you to choose. You can give in. You can submit. And it'll roll credits.
No shit.
Yeah.
So that's it.
You can.
Game over. You're like, we're happy with this.
It's the same thing with the evil god before. He will offer you a deal, and you can accept it.
Game over.
Game over. Credits roll.
Wow.
You know it's wrong. Because the freedom to choose is what makes us all human. Freedom of choice, individuality, the right to rebel, to stand up to something that's wrong. Believe in your ideals. And would you live in eternal happiness knowing that you don't have a choice in what that happiness is? No. At least that's what I decided. And I fought that motherfucker to the end. And it is the most intense boss fight I've ever played. Probably because of the story implications, not because it's so really fucking hard. Although it was intense and difficult, you discover he is a persona user. He has the ability to kind of rewrite people's cognition, and that plays into it, kind of. But throughout this whole boss fight, he's like, look, I've given you chance after chance to accept this. This is it. A clash of ideals. I will defend what I believe in till the bitter end. And he fucking does. You fight him 2 or 3 times at least. And he's progressively getting harder, more desperate, stronger. And it ends in this epic clash. You finally steal his treasure. You finally are starting to get away. And you're dragged back in one last time. His palace is collapsing around him. It's over. He's lost. And he's standing in front of you defeated. And he says, look, I need to do this. And you're the only one that can help me. I don't want to leave any regrets here. And you fist fight it out.
Ooh, little Tyson's...
Literally, at the end of it all, he knows it's over.
But he still wants
You fist fight it out.
Wow.
It's so just...
down and dirty.
Damn.
Yeah.
Imagine being so passionate about something that you would, even in defeat, still fight on.
Beast.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
And really, I love that character so much, because I don't agree with him But man, do I fucking sympathize with him.
Right. That makes the best villains.
It really does.
Sometimes when the villain has the right perspective on a situation, and they're correct, but like you said, their ideology is twisted.
He's not necessarily wrong, but it's not right for everyone.
No, and that's the thing, is you have to do it for the greater good. You know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Spock, Star Trek, thank you. That's where that's from. You thought it was from the Bible. It's not. This, as you're explaining it, it sounds religious, you know, in a lot of ways.
There's a lot of religious symbolism and mythology that is laden throughout. A lot of the demons or personas you can use are biblical figures. They have that sort of background to them. It kind of explores the religious aspects and things like that and following religion and stuff like that, but
I mean, pop culture is the new religion, and I know that's sacrilegious to say, but it's kind of true. That's kind of how we view it, and that's how we get our morality tales now, through things like, you know, Star Wars is the closest thing to religion, but now you got something like that bringing in a new idea, and, you know, but it's a positive thing for the most part, you know what I mean?
I won't get too gushy into it, but I don't know why this game spoke to me the way it did, but, you know, with lack of a better way to say it, this game fucking changed my life. And I know it's probably the dorkiest thing in the world to say. Of course, I'm saying it on a fucking gaming podcast, though.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. But the characters, the motivation, the story it tells of just standing up for what you fucking believe in because you know it's right. And your ideal is yours. Fucking own it. And even some of the other games, I've so attached and grasped those ideas and concepts. And all of those themes, they're even laden into the music with them. And I fucking love the music, dude. There's a song from Persona 3, Memories of You. And it's tacky to say, but in a way, that song helped me cope with the death of my dad. Because it's so powerful, just, it's not outright religious. It doesn't lean specifically Christian or whatever. It's very much just kind of honoring the memory of those around you and with you. And I don't know how this series tapped into that sort of magic, but dude, I want that for my games.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I want to create a game that will touch someone in the same way that this series has reached me. That's really what I aspire to do in my game development endeavors. That's why I write the stories that I do. That's why I really want to get into that industry. And it's why I love video games, man. There's no other medium that you can tell this exact story and get that exact sort of powerful feeling out of like you can video games.
Right.
You're not going to sit down and watch a 200, 300 hour movie.
Nope.
But damn it, you'll spend an hour or two every day on a 200 plus hour game.
I'm with you. This is when Dr. E just became Reverend D, because you just preached for like an hour straight on this game. Did you feel that? Like,
you knew that's what it was going to be, though.
Dude, I'm telling you. And everyone felt it, too. They're like, fuck it, he is right. He is Reverend D.
I know all of this shit is just me gushing about Persona. I fucking love this game. Sure. If you haven't already, for the love of God, at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is at least make it through the first dungeon. Go through the first palace, see if the gameplay is something you like and if the story is something you attach to. At the very least, you're in for a good ride. It's fucking insane. There's so many little details I could get into and so many characters you could explore. It's so fleshed out, and for $50-$60, whatever it is, it's more than worth the price at least 3 times over.
And you're going to get your game's worth. And you're going to have a good time. And it sounds like the story is fucking awesome. This is the last thing I really want to ask you, Ethan. You wanted this to be episode 21 of the podcast, and there was a very specific reason, because 21 plays into this series somehow?
Yes. So the number 21 is very significant in the Persona series, specifically because of the major arcana. I'm talking tarot cards, that sort of oracle card type things. They commonly use to like tell your fortune, and movies depict them as cards of foreseeing doom in the future, and Persona kind of leans heavily into that, but they rely more on the traditional meanings of the major arcana. So 21 major arcana relates to the Fool's Journey, and every single game in the series has been built off of that. You start out as this innocent, unknowing, just naive, you are the fool, card 0, and it builds up. You go across and meet all these people on your journey that each play a very key important role and teach you a different lesson until you reach what is card 21, the world. And that is where you have reached enlightenment, the end of your journey, everything has come full circle. I kind of interpret it as a variation on the hero's journey, and it's really, really fucking cool how they specifically adapted it into the game world, where each major character represents a different major arcana in every game. And some of those characters tend to carry over traits and specific qualities and things like that. But it really brings into perspective how all of these characters help flesh out the whole world and make the protagonist who they are. They each add something new to the story, their own storylines, and it extends out from there while still playing back into the greater narrative of the whole story. And back when, total tangent for the audience here. Tangent! When we first started playing D&D, the Clockwork Fate campaign that ties in very heavily to Heroes Gyros, go listen to that podcast. That whole campaign I based off the idea of the Fool's Journey, which I got from the Persona series. I went and read into it and researched it a bit and kind of did my interpretation of it, and every single quest you guys were doing in that campaign was related to a different card in the major arcana, and it was slowly building up. Do you remember the gear at the beginning? It said Fool every time one of y'all got near it?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of your journey. And it would slowly build up as each other word would appear on those gears until we reached the final quest, the world.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty cool because we were just like, why the hell does this thing say fool? And it's calling you a fool.
That kind of brings together the whole reason why I wanted this to be episode 21 is this game, Persona 5 Royal, is the world for me. This is the end of that journey I have reached with that game. I feel like I've come to a good resolution. I've kind of collected my thoughts, and this is how I feel about it.
Fuck yeah.
So, honestly, fucking fantastic game. There's many, many more layers of depth you could get into in every single game in that series, and it's so good, man.
And I have one final question.
What you got?
Who the fuck is the Joker, and why do I see him everywhere? Not DC, but who's Joker?
Joker is the leader of the Phantom Thieves from Persona 5.
Okay.
That is the main character that you play as. Every one of the Phantom Thieves has been given code name because Phantom Thieves are cool. You're not going to use your real name when you're stealing shit. No. So the main character becomes known as Joker because he's the group's wild card.
Okay.
He's the one that can switch different personas and is the cunning bastard, the clever mastermind of this group. He's the one that brings them all together.
And everyone loves Joker.
Everyone loves Joker.
Everyone loves Joker.
Unless you go the harem route, then all the girls hate you.
Oh,
do I have your attention now, Ducky-san?
You can get a bed of bitches is what you're saying, huh?
Oh, yeah. Just a little side note here is there is part dating sim in all of this. All the girls, you can date them all at once. Or one.
As a polyamorous whore, I must say, this sounds excellent.
Well, that's when you get the Valentine's Day event and they all beat the shit out of you.
I mean, once again, as a polyamorous whore, this sounds excellent. I don't know what to say.
They call you an asshole, beat the shit out of you, and leave.
I mean, I'm into it. All right, Ethan. Reverend E. Not Dr. Ethan Eastwood, but Reverend E.
You know what's funny? I actually am a reverend.
He is a reverend. That is true. That's why it's hysterical, because he is ordained. He's at Universal Life Church. Does he have one?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can marry you, and you get pre-monocta rights. I think you get to fuck your wife. I don't know.
What the fuck?
That is a thing. What else can you do? You can marry people, and what else? Can you do funerals?
Maybe.
Holy shit. I guess we'll have to kill someone to find out. That's terrible. Okay.
Hobbs, would you come over here for a second?
No, we ain't killing Hobbs, baby. Javi kill you. Alright. Alright, Ethan. Waiting for it. Give us a rating. Let us know what you rate this game.
Persona 5 Royal is the way I would recommend playing and experiencing this story. Although you'll still get a lot of joy out of the base game, Royal is where it's at. Persona 5 Royal is easily the highest, shiniest top tier of S tier I can possibly give.
Very nice. All I have to say is, fuck you, Wilson. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck you for making us suffer through this.
No, thank you, Will. Thank you for introducing Ethan to the game. Obviously, he found it in a time in his life he needed it.
I did, man.
And it helped him get through some pain, and we won't go into those details, but it was life-changing for you. So
yeah, man. It's one of those things you couldn't have predicted something like that, but it was just what I needed at the time.
It's a very Will thing to do, though, because Will is kind of like that. He's like, I got something for you.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah,
what a good guy.
Yeah, good guy, Will Sonato. He gets an S rank also.
Yeah, Will, S rank all the way.
All the way. All right, so with that said, go play Persona 5 Royal. Go get your copy of it. Enjoy the game. Let us know what you think. This has been Duck. I have been here with
Reverend Dr. E.
And Reverend Dr. E. But we do have to remind you of one thing.
One thing.
You can never forget this.
You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch. So just stop trying.
Stop trying. Yeah, whore. And there it is. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you have enjoyed it, please do not forget, share with your friends. That is how we grow the network. And if this is your first time listening, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, and give We Are Podcast a like. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, you're going to love the other podcasts here on the We Are Podcast Network. We have We Are Error, where we talk about movies, entertainment, whatever the fuck we want to talk about. That's me, that's Jake, that's Javi. We're breaking down pop culture, and we're having a blast. Don't forget Heroes Gyros, a Dungeons and Distraction side quest. Me and the boys were sitting down, we're playing some D&D. We're having so much fun. You can go ahead and start that from the beginning of the journey, Season 1, Episode 1. You're going to love it all the way through. And finally, I Hate Being Sober. Personal stories from epic people. I'm going to sit down with some of the most epic people I've ever met in this world, and we're going to talk about their life, we're going to talk about their trials and tribulations, and we're just going to talk about their journey this far. Head on over to our social media. All links can be found in the description. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. Also, head over to the Facebook group, We Are Error. We would love to see you in that group. And don't forget, if you've enjoyed the podcast today, share it with your friends. That's the only way we can grow this network. But with that said, I have to remind you, I can never let you forget this. You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch. So stop trying. We'll see you next time.